In the wild frontier of 1884, a drowning Apache woman is pulled from a deadly river by a lone cavalry scout. What follows is a night of survival, trust, and unexpected connection that changes both their destinies forever. Watch till the end to see how one act of courage builds a bridge between two worlds. If you enjoy powerful Wild West stories, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. The summer of 1884 had been unusually harsh across the Arizona Territory. Weeks of heavy rain in the distant mountains had transformed quiet streams into dangerous rivers, cutting through the rugged valleys with tremendous force. Ethan Walker, a former cavalry scout known for his skill in surviving the frontier, was traveling alone along a narrow trail that wound between rocky cliffs and dense patches of cottonwood trees. His horse moved carefully over the muddy ground as dark clouds gathered in the distance. Ethan had spent years exploring these lands, yet even he knew that nature could become unpredictable and deadly without warning. As Ethan approached a bend near the river, a faint cry reached his ears above the roar of rushing water. At first, he thought it might be an animal trapped by the flood, but the sound came again, louder and filled with fear. He quickly guided his horse toward the riverbank and scanned the turbulent water. There, among the swirling currents, he spotted a young woman struggling desperately to stay above the surface. The river was carrying her downstream at frightening speed, threatening to drag her into a section filled with jagged rocks and fallen trees. Without taking time to consider the danger, Ethan leaped from his horse and rushed into the freezing water. The current struck him like a wall, nearly knocking him off balance. Every step required tremendous effort as he fought against the river's power. The woman disappeared beneath the surface for a terrifying moment before emerging again several yards away. Ethan pushed forward, ignoring the icy sting of the water and the risk to his own life. Finally, he reached her and grabbed her arm. The current tried to pull them apart, but Ethan refused to let go and slowly fought his way back toward the shore. By the time they reached dry land, both were exhausted. Ethan helped the woman sit against a large rock while she struggled to catch her breath. Her dark hair was soaked, and her clothing was covered in mud from the floodwaters. After a few minutes, she introduced herself as Ayana, a member of a nearby Apache community. Though tired and shaken, she carried herself with quiet strength and dignity. Ethan offered her water from his canteen and checked to make sure she was not seriously injured. Aside from a few cuts and bruises, she appeared unharmed, a fortunate outcome considering the danger she had faced. As the evening approached, the weather grew even worse. Thunder echoed through the valley, and strong winds swept across the landscape. Ethan knew they would never reach the nearest settlement before nightfall. He offered Ayana shelter at his small cabin, hidden among the hills several miles away. Grateful for his help, she accepted. Together, they rode through the gathering storm until they reached the modest cabin. Inside, a warm fire soon filled the room with light. Sharing a simple meal, they spoke about life on the frontier, their struggles and the challenges they had both endured. Outside, the storm raged across the wilderness, but inside the cabin, two strangers from different worlds began building a bond of trust and understanding. Rain hammered against the cabin throughout the night, creating a steady rhythm that echoed through the small wooden structure. The fierce storm outside showed no sign of ending, and flashes of lightning occasionally illuminated the dark valley beyond the windows. Seated near the fireplace, Ethan and Ayana found themselves talking more openly with each passing hour. What had begun as a simple conversation between strangers slowly became a meaningful exchange of experiences. The warmth of the fire contrasted sharply with the cold storm outside, creating a rare moment of peace in a land often marked by hardship, conflict, and uncertainty. As the evening grew later, Ethan spoke about his years as a cavalry scout. He described the dangers he had faced on the frontier and the friends he had lost during violent conflicts. Those experiences, he admitted, had made him cautious and slow to trust others. Ayana listened carefully, understanding the weight carried in his words. In return, she shared stories about her people and their determination to preserve their traditions despite growing pressures from the changing world around them. Though their backgrounds were very different, both understood loss, resilience, and the desire to protect what mattered most. The storm continued long into the night, but the distance between them seemed to shrink with every conversation. Ethan was surprised by Ayana's wisdom and calm strength, while Ayana admired the courage that had led him to risk his life for someone he had never met. Neither tried to change the other's views. Instead, they listened with respect and honesty. By midnight, the distrust that often existed between their communities felt less important than the shared humanity they discovered in one another. For the first time in years, Ethan felt he was speaking with someone who truly understood the hardships of frontier life. As dawn approached, the rain finally began to weaken. The first light of morning filtered through the clouds, casting a pale glow across the valley. Suddenly, the sound of approaching horses broke the silence. Ethan stepped outside and saw several Apache riders emerging from the mist. His first instinct was caution. He knew that misunderstandings on the frontier could quickly become dangerous. However, Ayana immediately walked forward and greeted the riders. She explained everything that had happened, describing how Ethan had rescued her from the flooded river and given her shelter during the storm. The warriors listened attentively, their expressions gradually softening. Among the riders was a respected Apache leader who had spent the entire night searching for Ayana. After hearing her account, he approached Ethan and thanked him for his bravery. Rather than treating him as an outsider, he honored him as a man of courage and integrity. Before departing, the leader invited Ethan to visit their camp. Several weeks later, Ethan accepted the invitation and traveled into the mountains. There, he was welcomed with unexpected respect and hospitality. What began as a desperate rescue beside a raging river grew into a lasting friendship between people from different worlds. Their story became a reminder that kindness, understanding, and courage could overcome fear and build bridges where division once existed across the American front.